Hello everyone, I am Dr. Rohan Maruti Kore, working as an assistant professor in the School of Physical Sciences, Punyashlok Ahilyadevi Holkar, Solapur University, Solapur. Today we are going to discuss one of the topic which is generally useful in the material science field, that is electron microscopy, which is a characterization tool. We all know that electron microscopy is an microscopy tool which is generally useful for the characterization of nanomaterials, as we are all aware about various equipments and the devices. They are now using the nanomaterials, and to analyze such type of material and characterize such type of material, to know the morphology, topographical images, their chemical analysis, we are requiring the scanning electron microscope to analyze their morphological images. Today we are going to discuss some of the topics that are electron microscope, why electron microscopy we are using, that is by comparing electron microscopy and the light optics. Also we are going to discuss scanning electron microscope principle, SEM setup, thereafter SEM imaging, that is how the image is getting collected by using the sample interaction. Thereafter we will see few sample images, and lastly we are going to discuss about the application, their strengths and limitation of the scanning electron microscope. The electron microscopy, it is an electron microscope which is a type of microscope that uses electron instead of a photon to illuminate and create an image of the specimen. Electron microscope, by using electrons instead of photons, allows to observe the matter with atomic resolution. That is why we are preferring the electron microscope. Why electron microscope is necessary? Because as we all aware about the wavelength of the electron, it is smaller than 1 nanometer, and that is very small as compared to the visible and ultraviolet photons, which is in the range of 200 to 800 nanometer, which implies the greater resolution and the magnification of the nanomaterials. Also the electrons, they are interacting much more strongly than the photons as compared than the photons. Also there are the electrons which are charged particles, and they may be focused by magnetic and the electrostatic fields, as we are aware that the electrons are charged particles and they can be easily controlled by using the electrostatic and magnetic fields. What is the actual scanning electron microscope principle? It is the schematic of the electron microscope we have shown over here. Here it consists of, firstly, the main requirement is the electron gun, which is the source of the electron beam to analyze the samples. The electron gun functions as a source of electron beam, which is having the two types that we will discuss later also. That is, firstly, one is the hot filament lamp and cold filament lamp. Thereafter, once we generate the electron beam, the electron beam is going through the condenser lenses, that is first condenser lens, second condenser lens. The condenser lens, the name itself indicates it condenses the beam size, and we will get the narrower beam to make the more resolved images of the samples. Thereafter, at the third stage, we have the detection coils. The detection coil is to control the path length of the electron beam to move onto the samples. So that detection coils, they are controlling the path length by making a raster scanning, which is the line by line scanning. We will see that particular line by line scan in the video also. Thereafter, at the last stage, after the sample interaction, there are few stages which are called over here, that is backscattered electron detector and secondary electron detector. Thereafter, at the right hand side, we can see X-ray detector and the objective lens. These lenses and the detectors, they are collecting the electrons that are gained after the sample interaction. What the SEM setup that we have seen over here, it consists firstly the filament, that is the cathode, which produces the free electrons by using the thermionic and cold emission. As I said just earlier, the thermionic emission is nothing but by giving the high electric field, we are heating the cathode filament, which overcomes the barrier of the cathode, and the electrons, they are coming out from that particular surface of the electrode, and these electrons, they were further moved into the electron beam path. And in the cold emission, instead of heating the sample, we are applying the very high electric field which is able to emit more number of electrons, as well as in the cold emission, that is field emission scanning electron microscope process, we are getting the more resolution as compared to the thermionic emission scanning electron microscope. Thereafter, once the electron beams, they have the electrons, they came from the cathode, we are moving those particular electrons through the Vanlette cylinder. What the Vanlette cylinder does, it focuses the electron beam towards the beam path and it stabilizes the beam current, and for that stabilization, the Vanlette cylinder is putting some negative field which is compressing the beam path, and by the means of compression, the electron beam current is controlled. Thereafter, one stage is there, anode plate. The anode plate, it maintains the high voltage difference between the anode and the cathode, and that particular high electric field that accelerates the free electron down to the column. That means whatever the electrons they have been generated through the electron gun, they get accelerated by applying a positive potential, as the electrons they have in the negative potential, they get attracted towards the anode plate, and because of which we are easily send them towards the sample direction. Thereafter, next stage is condenser lens, which reduces the diameter of the electron beam to produce the smaller spot size. This spot size is nothing but the beam region where we are sending it onto the surface, and by controlling the beam size, that is the diameter of the beam, we are getting the more resolved images. As far as the beam size is much smaller, the resolution of the images is much larger. Thereafter, we are having the next stage, it is the scan coils. The scan coils, they are electromagnetically raster the electron beam on the specimen surface. That raster means line by line scanning. We will see that particular imagination into the video slide laterwards. Final objective lens, that objective lens focuses the electron beam on the surface of the specimen, and the smallest spot size, which is about 5 nanometer down to 1 nanometer with a field emission source. Last but not the least, that is the detector within the scope of the chamber, but not the part of the column. It is the detector, it is situated inside the chamber only, but it is not the part of the path of that particular electron beam. So this is what the cross sectional area and cross sectional image and the actual image of the scanning electron microscope. Here we can see at the left hand side, the cross sectional image shows the electron gun. Thereafter, there is a gun alignment control, pneumatic airlock valve is there that controls the vacuum in that particular chamber. Thereafter, as we have seen, condenser lens, objective aperture, scanning coil, objective lens, and motorized stage. That motorized stage is to put up the sample, which is we are going to analyze the surface features as well as the chemical analysis we can put up by using the sample stage. So this is what we have all seen. It is just the assembling and the construction of our scanning electron microscope. But how we are getting the images, that is most important thing in this particular aspect. That is what SEM imaging, and this particular SEM imaging, that is scanning electron microscope imaging, is completely through the sample interaction. Here we can see the red line indicates the incident electron beam which is generated from the electron gun, and we have controlled through the condenser lenses and the scan coils and the objective aperture. Okay, so once this particular incident electron beam is interacting with the sample, there we are having the various sources, that is the secondary electron, cathodoluminescence, X-ray, augury electron. Thereafter, elastically scattered, inelastically scattered, this such electrons or the rays we are getting at the detectors. But for the scanning electron microscopy images, we are just requiring the backscattered electron and the secondary electron. What is secondary electron? The secondary electron is nothing but once we are incidenting the primary electron beam onto the sample, the atom which is having the valence shell and the near, that is the orbit which is nearer to the valence shell, the electron from the inner orbit is getting ejected by passing the high energetic electron from the primary beam nearby the orbiter electron. That ejection of the electron which is acting as a secondary electron in the that process. Thereafter, we are having the backscattered electron. The backscattered electron, they are quite coming back from that particular surface, and they are coming much smaller region, much downer region from that particular sample. Also, we are having their X-rays and Auger electron. The Auger electron is nothing but once the electron is getting ejected during the secondary electron emission, that secondary electron place is getting filled by the higher energetic electron from the outermost orbit, and during this filling of that particular inner orbit, that is vacant space, the electron is making the motion of auger like motion, and that is why it is called as an Auger electron. This Auger electron is used for the Auger electron microscopy, where the detection of the chemical species is possible by using that spectroscopy. Thereafter, below the sample, we are having the scattered electron, unscattered electron, and that scattered electron is further divided into two. One is elastically scattered, second is the inelastically scattered. The unscattered electron, they are directly transmitting without any deviation and without any energy loss as well, and the scattered electrons which are having the two types, that is elastically scattered and inelastically scattered, they are the elastically scattered electrons, they are nothing but they are not losing any of the energy, they are not losing any of the energy, and inelastically scattered, they are losing some amount of energy during that interaction, because of which there is larger deviation they are occurring. And these particular unscattered and elastically scattered and inelastically scattered, which are also known as transmitted electrons, they are useful in the one more characterization tool, that is nothing but transmission electron microscopy. Cathodoluminescence is one more electron over there. That luminescence is nothing but the ejection of light after the absorption of the energy from the primary beam of electron. That particular phenomena is nothing but the emission of the photon from the sample surface, and that is what called luminescence. And as we are providing the electron source from the cathode, that is the electron gun, that is why we are calling it as the cathodoluminescence. So here we can see setup of the scanning electron microscope. Here at the right hand side we have DIVAR. That DIVAR is consisting of the nitrogen. Here we are having the specimen chamber. Here we can see the specimen chamber. Over here it is a sample stage. Okay, so this sample stage consisting of the stage where we are going to keep our sample, and once we are putting over that there the sample, the complete stage consisting of the stage, the pole pieces and the SED. The SED is nothing but the secondary electron detector. Whatever the pole pieces over here, they are incidenting the electron beam on towards the sample stage, and after the interaction with the sample stage, the secondary electrons which are ejecting from that particular region, they are detected at the secondary electron detector. Also there are various detectors are also present, that is backscattered electron and all. How this particular process is happening? Here we are having the column, that pole pieces, they are ejecting the primary electron onto the surface, and once the electrons they are getting interacted with the sample specimen, the electrons, that is secondary electrons, they are getting back from the surface after the interaction, and here these secondary electrons, they are detected through the secondary electron detector. It is a wired cage which is kept at about 300 volt positive charge, because positive charge is easily attracting the electrons whatever they ejected from that particular sample surface, and they have been sent to the collection target. After the electrons, they have been sent to the collection target, which is the analog signal. That analog signal is further converted into the digital signal, and it has been sent towards the computer system, where we are generating the image with respect to the raster scanning. And during the discussion we have told about the line by line scanning. It is what the line by line scanning, whatever the electron beam we are incidenting onto the sample surface, by controlling the objective aperture or the scan coil's electric and magnetic field, we are controlling the path length onto the sample surface, and that path length is controlled such that electric and magnetic field are controlled such that we are able to move our electron beam onto the sample line by line. Okay, so that line by line scanning, it is nothing but the raster scanning. Here we can see the line by line scanning onto the at that particular atoms. Now here, once the electron beams they are made the line by line scanning, here the sample interactions are occurring. That is, first one is the secondary electron that which is coming much upper region of the sample interaction. Thereafter below that we are getting the radiations which are called as backscattered electron, and the electrons which are not properly coming out from the surface after the interaction, they are coming out in the form of X-rays, and they have been detected by the X-rays detector, and we are getting that particular X-rays for the detection of the crystallographic studies, also the elemental detection which is called energy dispersive spectroscopy. Here we can see, once we are incidenting the line by line scanning, the electrons which are much nearer to the detector, they are providing the high energetic electrons to the detector, and because of which we are getting the dark images in that particular region, and as the surface roughness goes on varying, the dark and bright images they are varying from point to point because of the raster scanning, and we can easily analyze the roughness of that particular sample surface. Here are some sample images. We can see the pinhole type of morphology that has been seen clearly by using the SEM images. This is one of the image of iron oxide nanoparticles, and the same nanoparticles which are having the spherical type of nanoparticles prepared in our laboratories, that is university, that is of also iron oxide nanoparticles scanned by the scanning electron microscope, and you can see over here these are 500 nanometer linear scale images. Now where we are going to apply this particular scanning electron microscope, the precise measurement of very small features of objects down to 50 nanometer in size, which is accomplished using the SEM. That means the particles which are having the very small size of the in the scale of nanometer scale, that is around 50 nanometer, we can easily analyze those particular samples. SEM is also widely used to identify the crystalline structure. Backscattered electron images, they can be used for the rapid discrimination of the phases in the multiphase sample. That means if we are having the multiphase samples, we can use the backscattered electron to discriminate, that means differentiate in the different phases of that particular sample. The SEM is equipped with diffracted backscattered electron detector that can be used to examine the microfabric and crystallographic orientation in many materials. What are the strength of the scanning electron microscope? The SEM is critical in all the fields that require characterization of the solid materials. Most of the SEMs are comparatively easy to operate with user friendly intuitive interfaces. many applications they require minimal sample preparation. For many applications the data acquisition is rapid, which is less than 5 minutes per image. So, for second electron, backscattered electron, spot EDS analysis, that spot EDS analysis is nothing but the energy dispersive spectroscopy that we will see some other lecture. The modern SEMs, they generate data in digital formats which are highly portable. So, these are the some of the strengths of the scanning electron microscope. Also we are having some limitations, that they are dynamic rather than static in their operation. So, it requires extremely stable high voltage supply. It also requires extremely stable currents to each electromagnetic coils and lenses to properly control the electron beam path through that particular sample interaction. So, they are very sensitive to vibrations and external magnetic field. Also the microscopes aimed at high resolution that must be housed in building that sometimes underground we are requiring. So, today we are having this particular lecture on the scanning electron microscope, and in some other classes we are going to see or going to discuss on some different characterization tools that are useful in the field of material science. Thank you.